Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll get started with the September 14th DRC. We start at 10:02 a.m. Just wondering, because we do have some applicants here, if we want to kind of modify the what?
You pull that.
Microphone? Sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Thank you.
That Ben's over there doing a. Because we've got some applicants here for others, if we're okay to rearrange the agenda a little bit. So we've got some graph and reads, and for two of the applicants, I'm assuming. You guys here for just Green Hollow, Kurt, or
Jimmy's here for his single
watt split? So.
And I don't know why he walked out on you, but.
We're actually going to rearrange for you if you like. So we'll do the graph and read, then Green Hollow, and then Ken Berg's here for Gray Cliffs. So I propose we do those three, and then we'll pick up Cedar Point and traffic control. Any issues with that?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll get the graph and read. So Jimmy, if you want to, Phil, you want to come up and join, you're welcome to. Now I have to make sure I've got the right ones.
Is this where I sit?
You can certainly sit there.
Okay. All right. This is like
There you go.
pretty intimidating, right?
You not understand, you know.
Okay. Really? You're going to do this to me? Okay. So this is a proposed lot split over on 100 South and about 250 West, if this will, or 250 East, apologize, 250 East. If it will come up. I need to. Really? Now it decides to drop down on me. Well, let me do one other method here. Apologize about this. I had them pulled up and they were working just a minute ago. Looks like I can go to Wi-Fi. Let's see if that'll work. That looks like it may be working. Let's try loading this again. Apologize, it was working just before we got going. Yeah, well, as soon as I started the meeting, it's not working. Yes, it is. Well, I'll pull this up. Hopefully.
We've been trying to get your attention for 5 minutes.
Apologize, guys.
What's the lunch for some managers? Is that Thursday or a week from Thursday? It's further than 24 hours out. I don't know. this week. Not to play, just to drive you guys around. Need a mental health day.
It's not my thing.
Okay.
All right.
So again, this is a, apologize about that. I'm not sure what was. So this is a proposed 2-lot subdivision, located about on 100 north, about 250 east. What they're proposing to do is to take an acre lot and subdivide it into 2 half-acre lots. There is an existing home on the existing parcel as it is, so there'd be new building lot associated with it. With that, a couple of notes on here. Any subdivision requires that curb, gutter, and sidewalk be installed. In the core area of town, it is possible to get a deferral agreement for that, to defer those improvements, to push it to, basically, you're still on the hook for it. It just delays having to have those installed. So if that's something that you'd like to work towards doing, then we can get that information to you as part of that. Okay.
You can do it anyway. I was going to say, usually those deferral agreements aren't just something that they can do. It's something the city would like to do, just because we haven't, definitively decided on what infrastructure looks like in the core area of town. So, but if you're going to do it, then great.
Yep.
It just seems like it would make sense because
Right.
To do the whole
basic
block at
curve,
once.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so that's just a comment that'll kind of come up through the process here. So, okay, with that, we'll go around DRC if there's any comments or thoughts on it. And starting
Do you
with
have the
Randy.
plat map there as well?
Yes.
I think we,
So that's and it's right there.
yeah, we've got the addressing on that.
Yep.
Okay. No, nothing.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
I got nothing to add.
Okay. Ben?
I don't have anything either. Did fire, or police, or public works?
I know I haven't, Public Works didn't have anything additional when I spoke with them. And I haven't heard anything from fire. I know police didn't have any comments on this though. So,
Okay.
so those 2 department comments will be pending. Couple of items. Let's see if this is working yet. Doesn't look like it.
Well, they may or may not be pending based on what we decide to do today.
Yeah.
I think it's probably good to say that this is a 2-lot subdivision, so it qualifies for the streamline process. So technically what's on the agenda today is a preliminary and final kind of combined review. And so the DRC would be the,
It's a
I guess we're not
recommended body.
the approving body, but we make a recommendation to the planning commission who then makes the decision. So I guess there could be some pending comments from those other departments, but
Yep.
it's based on how we structure our motion.
Okay, a couple of comments from engineering. Is right now it's shown that the sewer lateral, the new one for the proposed lot, for lot number 2, doesn't extend to the sewer lateral or the sewer line. It's showing that it connects to the PI, just clean up items kind of there. For a note will need to be included regarding the trench cut here. It will be required to be T-patched for there, so just make sure you put a note on there to basically we do have a standard within our standards and specifications for that T-patch. And then with that, there's also going to be a road cut permit fee that'll be tied with that, and that'll come out with the bonding associated with the subdivision itself. I believe for the most part, that's most of the engineering comments that we had in relation to this. Pretty straightforward, 2-lot subdivision in the core area of town. So with that, kind of reiterate what Jason mentioned. If there, it is a motion today by DRC would be a recommendation to the Planning Commission regarding those if however we decide to go.
I'll make a motion that we send a positive recommendation to the planning commission with the conditions that the red lines be addressed. That we make sure we get comments from other departments that maybe haven't given their comments on this, and that we work out have the city council consider a deferral agreement as part of this approval or recommended approval.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
So with that said, John, we're happy to send you our draft deferral agreement. We'd love to have you take a look at it. If we can get that looked at and taken care of in the next couple of days, we might be able to get you on the city council meeting next week. And that way we get that kind of put to bed before the planning commission looks at it and considers approval of it.
Okay, so you'll send that to me today?
Yeah, we'll
It's
get
a-
it sent to you today.
Pretty standard template that we use for all deferral agreements, but I tentatively put you on the 21st agenda with the mayor's approval and with your submission of that.
Is it just a fill in the blank thing?
We'll probably fill in most of the blanks for you. It's just
That's even better.
making sure that you're good with the language there, but you'll probably see it from Ryan's back there nodding his head like he's on top of it. So you'll see an email a
Okay,
little bit later today.
just highlight where I need to put anything, like my signature, that's all.
Okay, so we'll work on getting the red line comments back to you here in the next couple of days.
Okay.
We'll coordinate with Public Works and Fire to make sure if we have any additional comments from them. So,
Okay.
okay.
Kirk, you wanna take my seat up here?
Next thing on the agenda is the.
I'm kinda comfortable now.
You're comfortable, I'll just.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Green Hollow subdivision. I was able to get it to pull up on Adobe, so that'll work there. So, this is a final subdivision review of the Green Hollow subdivision, which is located on 300 West and about 500 North. And so it's a proposed 21 lots in here. Fill in this, it'll be the connection of 200 West. We'll be able to connect all the way through now with this development. So that'll help with traffic circulation and connectivity down to Main Street. And so with that, again, as a final, just to know, as a final subdivision review, this will be the last time it'll come to DRC. The DRC is the approval body for a final application. So with that note, before we dive in, we'll go around the DRC. Sergeant Randy?
We went through an assigned addressing, so you don't know did you get it on there?
Yeah, it's on the plat.
Okay, so we should be good with that.
Okay, sounds good. Jason?
Yeah, and as a clarification, the applicant I think is proposing to do all this in one phase, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
we want to do it one phase.
so all 21 of those
21 lots.
quarter acre lots will be done at once. So the big question that we had when we looked at this and you know, preliminary approval was given 2.5 years ago. And so kind of trying to jog our memory of where we were at with this. Obviously our code and our standards require park strips. But as we looked at this, everything that's surrounding this subdivision is just combination curb gutter sidewalk with no park strip. And so we were trying to figure out the best way to handle that because with the addition of some park strips, there's a couple areas where the road bottlenecks and gets a little bit narrower. I guess anywhere where these roads are connected to will have kind of a bottleneck. So you know, that intersection right there was a topic of conversation. We know for sure that we want stop signs for traffic that move east and west. We're not sure if we want to make it a four-way stop or not. But I guess my question, this is a question for the applicant. What are your thoughts on those park strips? Is that something you really want to have done? Or would you be willing to entertain the city going through a process to maybe remove those park strips and have it all just seamless combination? Sidewalk, curb and gutter. What are your thoughts there?
I'm great with just this sidewalk, curb and gutter.
Okay.
Right there. I mean, I don't know. we had talked about this a couple of years ago, and we were trying to figure out the best way to make
Right.
it happen, and we'd come up with a couple ways to do it, but I don't think any of us really liked it. So, I mean,
Yeah, looking at the code, it appears to me like the planning commission could waive the park strip there, although that means that you'd have to wait to go to a planning commission to get that determination. I know that there's some concerns expressed of having those roads narrow, and that would maybe be a little bit awkward and kind of transitioning in and out of narrower and wider streets. I think cases can be made both ways. In some ways, I think having that park strip, particularly with that four-way intersection, kind of creates a bulb out, traffic calming effect. So, I mean, you could look at it a number of different ways, but if it's all right with you, having the planning commission look at that and consider whether or not to have park strips or not might be something that we want to do. But really, we look to you whether or not you want to take that step.
Do you want your signature hive homes, trees and landscape?
That was exactly the thought that I had. That's why I'm asking you the question.
I like that, but then we still have a couple of areas where it narrows down so much to try to bring it, tie it all in, that I don't know how that look's going to end up being.
And it's not just the look too. There's kind of a domino effect. Right now, we have some of your infiltration galleries that are in those park strips, so those would need to be moved somewhere else. And there's some things that would need to be moved around, but I guess in a nutshell, that's really the only thing that we have comments that I have on this subdivision, and
It would increase their asphalt area too then, right?
Yes.
well, it would, and it would increase the asphalt area for the city to maintain. So there's a whole number of different angles to look at this one. I wonder if the other DRC members have thoughts on this, or based on kind of the
It's
initial feelings that the applicant has.
what you want it to look like, I think. If you want it to look like the rest of the subdivisions, or do you care if it's just... The other thing, I think you want to keep 200 West wide though, don't you?
Yes.
Because that's going to be a busy road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I'm indifferent on the other streets, but 200 West maintaining that continuity would be pretty essential in my opinion, anyway.
And this is a concern that was brought up by police as
Well, and that's the thing is, if we're going to keep 200 West wide, and then we're going to need to go to planning commission anyways, if that's okay with you. Obviously, you've received preliminary approval, and this is a final. But to really look a little closer at that, my interpretation of the code is that the planning commission would be the ones that would need to waive any of those requirements.
to be able to deviate from our current standard of 29 feet of asphalt.
Because we don't have in our code
Right.
combination. We have it in the city, but any new development technically needs to have a park strip. So to be consistent with what's been done in the past, we need the planning commission to
It
wait.
just cost us a couple weeks, right?
That's
Is
the
that all
thing.
we're really looking at?
It could
Yeah.
it could
Okay.
delay a little bit of
I
time.
don't care.
I mean, we have a
Okay.
couple weeks. I mean, I go back and forth on park strips. Sometimes I really like them. Sometimes I don't. I like the look that you can create with them.
Right.
You know, the other ways. I remember when we discussed 200 West last time, we were going to have to like be out and go around, and we didn't really like the way that was, you know. So
Right. Well, that's why
I'm good with the going to just the curb sidewalk combination, especially on 200 West, if that's what we.
Okay. Well, that's why I started off with a question to you. Is really it's based on
I
what
think
you
it would
want.
be better. I don't think we can create anything with the look in that amount of space.
Okay.
That's gonna. I think it's just gonna look awkward
Okay.
unless we.
Well, we appreciate that and appreciate your willingness to kind of look at this with the city to figure out what's going to be best for you and for the city in terms of traffic flow and that. So, I guess with that said, you know, we recognize kind of the direction this will go. But other than that, those are the only comments that I have. I'm sure that there's other comments we can discuss to give the applicant some information that they need to maybe work on.
Ben, did you have anything else?
I didn't. Other than I would like to see second west wide. The other ones I'm indifferent, so it's really, you know, I mean, obviously this is your application, so it's whatever you guys want. But we would love to see second west wider, and when are you going to start? We would really love to see this road connectivity in this area and open up the whole north to the signal light is critical for
We've been trying to get to it for 2.5 years.
our. So we're excited to have you start and
Yes.
tie that whole neighborhood together.
So that's supposed to be. I mean, we're supposed to do just the Heedless Farms and then
Yeah.
and then go right to this, and that's kind
I
of
was
what we're
waiting
trying
for
to do.
Jimmy to throw me under the bus. But yeah, as soon as we finish Heedless Farms. But
I don't even have a comment for that.
does the city want to participate in the cost of curb and gutter on 300 West? Curb and gutter and sidewalk? Because we're not getting anything out of that. It's just improving it for the city, basically.
So our code on that one, our code requires that all frontages are improved, and you do have frontage along 300 West. So because this it's still a local street, they're not asking for any more than what would be required with any other subdivision. That there's I don't anticipate any city participation on that. So
I just know you guys have spent a lot of money on 300 West, and
So why not spend
so
more?
why not spend more?
no, that project was a project.
Yeah.
Going
So-
back to the sidewalks, so like even on 450 north, I think it makes sense just to keep curb on that one. It's no, and so at that point, I would say let's just go
Do the whole
for
thing.
keeping the whole subdivision just.
Okay.
the same.
Combination.
Yeah, we'll
Something
take that
we
to the
can look
planning
at.
commission and see if they're good with that.
Okay. A couple of notes speaking on 300 West. When these plans were done, since they were done, there's been the improvements done along 300 West, as you talked about. The plans don't reflect that change. So there needs to be some updating and verification that what we talked about before, that the roadway width is appropriate throughout the whole length of 300 West, and that could impact the right-of-way portion of it. It could have a domino effect as we go through that. So based on the plans that we've got on these plans, it doesn't show those improvements along 300 West, again, that could impact this.
Well,
I
it
know.
won't change anything, will it, on the design?
I don't know. That's the question we have is, do those improvements? I know we worked, when this application came through, we were working on making sure that was appropriate, but it's not reflected here. And those improvements were done after this got preliminary, and so we haven't had a chance to. The plans don't show that, so that needs to be updated to verify that the appropriate right-of-way is there, appropriate roadway width, those type of things are taken care of. So, so yeah, that'll need to be kind of taken a look at. That's what this comment right here is basically discussing that roadway width, make sure that asphalt is the appropriate width through there, and then building off of that. So, couple just quick notes here on the Mylar and the Plat. There seems to be a missing call shown here from the boundary description, so that need to be taken a look at. An update to the setbacks, the approved setbacks. There's this, so this is the one that was shown on the Plat, on the Mylar or the Plat sheet, and they are incorrect, and this one down here is the correct ones. So just so you have those to reference. Again, some modifications to because of this recorder's office, the recorder stamp portion needs to be a little bit bigger. A couple options, you can make it wider, or sometimes they've removed a border here, just different options there you can use. Again, the acknowledgement. I know you got an agreement or so with the two property owners here to include there. I don't know if we may need to include their signature on the
Yes,
plat.
we need to update
So-
one of them for sure. So
So those type of things just need to be addressed and taken care of on this. Couple cleanup notes on the plat sheet. Again, the measurements that I've got right here, they're kind of small, but that's just kind of to take a look. Okay, what's the right of way width, the asphalt width as we go through there. So, and then as mentioned before, we'll need stop signs at least the east and west bound lane of 500 north through there. Then those are pretty much the main comments that we've got from engineering through here. So with that, there's not any other comments or thoughts.
John, I make a motion that we table the Green Hollow final subdivision plat for the purpose of approaching the planning commission and having them consider the waiver of park strips so that the infrastructure is consistent in this area. As part of that, our recommendation from the DRC is that we remove the park strips so that 200 west is wide and good for traffic flow, but also so that it's consistent with the surrounding neighborhoods. In the meantime, we would encourage the applicant to address all these red lines so that when it comes back to the DRC for final approval, it'll be quick and easy to approve that and help them get moving forward on this project.
Okay. Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you by Randy. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
We'll plan to
Work on
have that on
getting
the
those.
next.
Real quick, just a note, we'll include this, but that right-of-way width, kind of the modification, ends up being about 40 feet of asphalt, 2-foot curb and gutter, and then there is a 2-foot strip back behind the sidewalk that's city right-of-way that allows for us to put hydrants, stop signs, those type of meters, those type of things
So
within there.
property line will be 2 feet
Behind the sidewalk.
on this. Okay.
Yep.
There'll be some other things that your engineer will want to look at, like those infiltration galleries
Yes.
in the park strip. So there's some adjustments that need to be needed, but
Do you cross-section detail of that then? Showing there?
We can put together something on here. I don't have a specific one
Okay.
because it's not in our standard,
Yeah,
but
okay.
it's similar to
On the
what's
red
been
lines.
done throughout the rest.
Okay.
So, okay,
Did you get us on the planning and zoning then, or?
yep.
just-
We're planning to have you on the planning and zoning meeting on the 28th.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we've got that, a note on there, so. Okay, let's see if I can get the next one up for, Gray Cliffs. Okay. So this is a preliminary application for the Gray Cliffs development upon, do I have the right one?
Hey, John.
Do I?
That is the newest version.
That we received late. Thank you. That's what I thought. It looked a little. Okay. Is that where it was at?
It should be in,
It's not in that folder. So it would be then. There we go.
yeah.
Okay, there we go. So this is the plan set that was submitted 2 weeks ago for DRC to consider. We did receive an updated plan from them on Friday, which did include a portion, which did include the Lyman property here to the east of the project, that we have not reviewed. So this plan set is the set that we've reviewed as part of the in preparation for DRC. So with that said, I'm going to pull up just the red lines here real quick so we can kind of match that. But so as I said, this is a preliminary application for this development, and this assumption pit up over here on the east bench north of C.S. Lewis Academy, and the East Side Park is where this is where the proposed development's at. With this is single family home. They're looking for R10 lot sizes and throughout the development, R10 minimum lot sizing throughout the development as we go through here. So with that introduction, we'll go around the DRC with any thoughts or comments. Randy?
I didn't go through addressing on this yet because not knowing how close to final layout we're going to be. So
Okay.
We'll do that at a later point.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
Yeah, so there's a lot of red line comments we'll go through together. I think just more high level, as we've looked at this and reviewed it, we've determined that we really need to first review the development agreement. There's a lot of departments that have questions, and the development agreement will probably help clarify some of those questions, but also it's hard to review the preliminary plan without understanding some of the details that are in the development agreement. We've received the development agreement from the applicant. In fact, we've received a couple different iterations, and so we are starting into the review of that. But really, I think as we reviewed this, it felt like the cart's a little ahead of the horse in terms of being able to move forward with this. Now, granted, there's still a lot of comments. It's probably not ready to move forward anyways. But from planning and zoning, that's really going to be our focus over the next couple weeks is diving into that development agreement and kind of going back and forth with comments on that. Obviously, we need to engage our legal counsel and so there's going to be some time spent on that. But for purposes of this development, I think we just start with all the comments that we have there. I don't know how much in depth you want to go with those comments in this meeting, John, but I think that's kind of a high level explanation of where we're at right now.
Ben, did you have anything before we dive into them?
No, I'd like you to have you dive in.
There we go. It's working. Sweet. Okay. So a couple of comments. Basically, how is one of the big comments we've got is how is the open space and when is the open space going to be dedicated, improved? Kind of have an idea, and that may fall in the development agreement as well. But again, those are questions such as that kind of come into play because there's a lot of open space with this project, and so when, how, all that type of stuff needs to be kind of looked at and determined. Again, as you know, UDOT, that needs to be taken care of.
UDOT Connectivity 198.
Correct. Thank you. Yep. And then how is it, one other comment for planning is how is it proposed to delineate the single family lots and the private property from public open space property?
I'm sorry, how to what?
How to delineate,
Maybe
whether it be a
fencing?
fence or something.
Yeah.
Is fencing required? Do you know?
Well, this isn't a PUD anymore.
Yep.
So I think we'd want to see something, whether it be fencing or something else that delineates it, but also, make sure that people aren't going to encroach onto that open space. Now, a lot of what's around there, well, I guess you're proposing is public. So yeah, we really want to make sure that people aren't going to encroach onto that open space with some form of delineation.
A couple of other questions that don't appear to be taken care of throughout this, and they're coming from looking at from engineering is We do need to get an updated storm drain report for this. We did have a preliminary one that was done a year and a half or so ago. That'll need to be looked at and updated. And because there have been some changes to this. But then there are some items that are addressed and discussed in the geohazard report that doesn't appear how those are being addressed. There's discussion of potential debris flow from canyons and unnamed, and drainages up here above it. Slope stabilization is mentioned in there. There's 5 or 6 things that are delineated in that geohazard report that we're not sure how those are being addressed. So that needs to be looked at, whether it be some sort of debris basin up above or something, or channels in there to help direct it, something to help take care of those items that are listed in the geohazard report or geohazard study. And then another question, and knowing that is kind of in partnership with that, is how we know the fault line runs right through here. We've anticipated that, and but how are the city utilities, such as water, sewer lines, how are those going to be? Granted, we can't protect for everything, but how are they going to be somewhat protected in the event that we do have an earthquake or something up in this area? That's usually when you need those utilities the most for fighting fires and those type of things. And how can we protect those? What methods are going to be used to help protect those? And through our review, we're unable to see anything specific in regards to that. Also, another point, we did the first portion of this, there was a study done by the city's sewer modeling company or engineering firm. We'll need to have that updated and reviewed as part of this, so we can verify if there's any offsite sewer required. There's a note saying there that how to be done, but that hasn't been done yet, so we'll need that process to go through and get done as well. Again, active agricultural perimeter fences will need to be taken a look at. Additional details will need to be provided on that.
Do you have a standard for what that is?
For a fence?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Or windrow or anything else?
Yeah, I
that the
think
code states?
I think we'd look to for a proposal from you, if it be a windrow, if it be just like a field fence. I don't think we're looking for a,
What's there is pretty durable.
which is
The
just
existing
a
field
barbed
fence?
wire fence.
No, it's an 8-foot
Okay,
deer fence.
okay, and that may be sufficient, but it's probably not there for around the boundaries of every open space. So
No, just the.
Yeah, so just the agricultural
Right.
side there. And this note may be addressed with the updated plans that were taken care of previously.
That's why we submitted it.
So, then again, a couple of notes. Again, some of these items could be taken care of in a development agreement, but again, the lengths of these dead end roads per the phasing exceeds the 500-foot requirement, and so they'll have to be looked at. A recommendation from the DRC to the Planning Commission and City Council on those.
So tell me how you're measuring the 500 feet, because
So
I thought I adjusted it to
So
match those requirements.
we take it from the center line of the road, the center line of the intersection, so from there and measure it out. That's where we measure those from. So, and again, it is possible to have that go to be up to 750 feet, but it'd just be part of city council. City council will be the final approval, allow those to go through. Yep, so a comment that we talked about at the previous DRC, we've got Abundance Avenue is a 62-foot wide right of way, but then Rocky Crag is a 55-foot cross section. Apologize. And at the DRC that we had with the preliminary or the concept, it was discussion to have Rocky Crag be again a wider cross section because it's funneling everything down through Abundance.
So which one do you prefer?
In regards to the
Which
overall
half of
width,
Rocky Creek do you want to be the larger roadway cross section?
I'd anticipate, I'd need to look for sure at the previous minutes. But I think it was the whole roadway there. But I'd need to look at those minutes again to verify for sure. So we'll add that, update that information, give some guidance there. Again, a couple notes with phasing in regards to that for F and G. There's again kind of exceeds that depending on when they were built. The full length of that cul-de-sac would be a little bit longer than our code would require. So couple notes here. You got a dual frontage lot that does not meet the width requirements on both the secondary and primary side. So that'll need to be looked at. For the most part, that's kind of essentially most of the comments on there. A couple of them follow through there. Right of frontage widths. Again, here's an example of how those were measured. Shows our measurements that we've done through some of these. So on the grading, there's a similar comment on the frontages through there. One on the grading plans, as we reviewed, there's a few of them that you got two roads there, as we discussed, most of them are 10%, which is our required, our maximum, but we can go up to 12. However, that needs permissions as well, similar to the length of dead-end roads. And so
For a standard subdivision?
for a standard subdivision,
Mm-hmm.
for 12%,
Mm-hmm.
so those are things that I know Public Works and Fire from previous discussions. I haven't spoke with them specifically on this one at this point. So those comments are pending as well, but 10% is the maximum that they really feel comfortable with. But we can't, as I said, we can go up to 12 with
City council
with
approval.
city council approval. Again, items that can be discussed and brought up with the development agreement. Another note, so I know we previously discussed a lift station for sewer lift stations. Question is, it comes up, is this private lift station anticipated to be covered with a HOA?
It's all in the development agreement, it's all prepared and ready, so that
Okay.
all answers it.
So that's just the question there. There are some, again, I haven't had an opportunity to talk with Public Works about this, but with it being a private lift station, it would have to be within the development agreement, have to be very detailed and delineated on who's responsible for the maintenance of that, because I know that with Public Works, our current master plan, as you're aware, doesn't show a sewer lift station here, and with your note, we have the outfalls. It runs to the north and west. So there are a couple other items that still have to be hammered out and worked through. Again, a couple notes. The legend needs to be, there's some lines that are shown on the plans that aren't shown in the legend, so that'll need to be kind of corrected and looked at. What size is that force main? That may be answered with the legend. a note on construction valves at the end of the project. Those are pretty much most of those comments we get through. There will need to be some additional details provided as well for the pump station, for the culinary booster pump station, as we go through this to take a look and review that. So so those are pretty much kind of the
Do you have
main.
a standard for your pump station?
No, a pump station would have to be designed independently and individually. So there's different criteria that can come into there. So there's not necessarily a standard. Similar projects, similar subdivisions that have need to put in a booster pump, they've had to design their own booster pump station for that. So those, they say those are kind of the broad, big picture, red line comments on there. I don't know if we necessarily need to dive into each individual one as we go through there. So unless there's any other comments, thoughts, questions.
It sounds like some of these are items that could be addressed in the development agreement, addressed by city council, and others are engineering specific. Is there, that maybe are independent, completely separate from the development agreement? Would you agree with that? Or are they?
To a point. I mean, like the booster pump, the culinary booster pump station, I think that needs to be somewhat kind of addressed in the development agreement, similar to what we've done in other projects. But yeah, they're kind of both.
Pump station, how much do you need design-wise for a preliminary plan approval?
Well, it's not
full engineering drawings.
No,
or
no, it just needs to be. Yeah, we've got a note here that's addressed, but again, it falls under the development agreement. Is how is how's that going to be taken care of?
Which is all in the development agreement that's been in your hands for 2 weeks now?
A couple weeks.
Yeah, and it's I haven't reviewed that, so I'm not aware of what's in there. So it could be or couldn't be, and so those type of items, again, those are what needs to be fleshed out and done.
Yeah,
So,
and that's why I started off with the comment that I did. Is it's hard to look at the preliminary plan without the development agreement, and so trying to keep up on what's been submitted to the city for DRC. We've gone through and looked at this, but really this probably needs to wait until we are able to sufficiently look at the development agreement. So
okay.
So I do have a concern that we don't get lost in the weeds again with that development agreement. How do we keep moving that forward?
You're not lost in the weeds. Just there's a lot of people that are in the same position that you are, that are anxious to get things done. Our last 2 planning commission meetings have gone to 11 o'clock, so we're doing everything we can to try and keep up with the work and the projects that have been submitted to the city. So, yep.
But as far as addressing the development agreement, we can work on getting you comments back and having our legal counsel go through that just as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned that there's 2 iterations. That second one, all we did was allow for the alignment piece. Other than that, it's exactly the same. So there's 1 paragraph that's different, just to deal with how we're gonna approach the alignment piece. Other than that, they're exactly the same. Similar to this plan set that John's got, is the only thing that's changed is just that alignment piece, and it kind of is a preemptive strike to answer the question that was going to come up of how are you going to deal with access across these trails. So.
Yep. Again, we haven't had a chance to. We got those, I believe it was Friday, so we haven't had a chance to review how those correlate with these plans and everything.
So I guess what I was kind of getting at when I was asking the 2 different, like one engineering thing that jumps right out at me is completely engineering, nothing to really dealing with city council, is fault line and how the city infrastructure is protected. That seems very engineering focused,
yes.
Non-political in any nature and all that type of thing. Those are things that you guys could probably work on while we're concurrently working on going through the development agreement and getting you comments back so that we can keep the entire project progressing.
So we probably need to attach it, but we previously already prepared a letter from the geotechnical engineer on how to deal with those. And and so it's been submitted.
Is it with the geohazard report?
No, independent,
Independent of that?
yeah, but we can grab that.
We'll put them together, we'll reference it.
Yeah.
Even on these plans that we resubmit, if it's clearly a development agreement issue, like
Yeah.
the private lift station, we'll add a note that
Okay.
just refers to the development agreement,
Yep.
just so we leave a good trail of breadcrumbs to
Great.
to point people in the right direction.
Okay. Anything else? If not, I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we table the Great Cliffs preliminary plan, and in the meantime, the development agreement be reviewed, so that there's more clarity for what the preliminary plan needs to account for, so it can move forward.
And concurrently asking the developer to continue to address the engineering specific items
Yeah.
that are within the red lines.
It's going to need to be done, and if they want to get any sort of a recommendation from DRC. So
Okay. Got a motion? There a second?
I'll second it with the change.
Sweet. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's tabled. So we'll get these to you. Again, we haven't had a chance to coordinate with Public Works or Fire on this, so there may be a couple additional comments that'll come on here with that one. So
So another quick question is, based on the results of previous city council, in regards to the grading permit, there were some additional city engineering department questions that needed to be answered, bonding and pre-con, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
When will I get specific direction on that?
I'll reach out to you after DRC in the next couple days, and we'll start working towards getting those informations going. Okay?
All right, that'd be great.
Okay. Thank you guys very much.
What's that? Oh, yeah, what about the zone change, the fact that we have timing associated with those things?
yeah, so I think once DRC provides a recommendation on the zone change, that'll be the kicker for me to get that zone change, because it'll go to Planning Commission, which is 2 weeks after DRC, and so that'll be the kind of the determining factor of when to get that notice taken care of, so that can happen concurrently. But yeah, there's no need to do it now until we get a recommendation from the DRC. But yeah,
Well, and the development agreement is kind of concurrent with.
that'll be concurrent with it. But he's talking about noticing,
Okay.
and so once DRC makes a recommendation, then that'll initiate the noticing, the notice and setting of the public hearing to get it ready for the next planning commission meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Yep. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Cedar Point at Summit Ridge Plat F. So this is again a streamlined process similar to the Draft and Read one. That'd be the Planning Commission is the final approval body, and the DRC would be providing a recommendation to the Planning Commission on this one. It's the location. Summit Ridge Parkway is the bridge, and Union Pacific Railroad is just to the over here off the page, so it's just to the west of there. Summit Ridge Parkway kind of curves up and heads north. There are no home, these lots here, there aren't homes on those ones at this point, but there is an existing home that's part of this. The reason this lot, an existing home, is included within the subdivision is because of they want to do a lot line adjustment across lot, I think it's lot 3, between lots 3 and 2 to adjust that property line between those two. So with that, we'll go around DRC. Randy?
I think we did the addressing on this one as well, so it's there for you and available.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
No comments.
Ben, you have anything?
I didn't have any comments.
Okay. There's some cleanup items that needs to happen on the plat that they need to work through and do. One note that they've got There is an existing meter shown here, and it is actually for this lot that they're trying to split. So they'll only need to provide one additional meter and road cut, so that'll help save that one, hopefully, as they go through the process here. So they'll have to realign those.
Those two lots are definitely steep, so we'll have our hillside ordinance attached to that. Is that some kind of a note that goes on the final plat, or how does that happen?
Per our zoning map, these lots through here aren't included in the hillside overlay zone.
They're not?
They're not.
Okay.
Nope. Basically, hillside overlay zone starts up on the south and west side of Summit Ridge Parkway and loops up around behind Vistas West and to the west of there.
Okay.
So, but yes, you do make a good point. They are this lot here and these proposed two lots, it's a very steep grade from the roadway back. So
On that point, since you're already having them add a few notes, can we add a note to the back property lines of both of those properties that they will not have access from Summit Ridge Parkway for any landscaping purposes? The fences will not come down so that they can get in there and start grading. They need to grade the backyards first.
Yep. Okay, yeah, we'll put a note on the plat. No access. It does.
Right, but the people keep taking walls down.
We just want to expound on that note, that it's not just no access, it's no access for landscaping and retaining wall construction, things like that.
Bold and red.
Underlined and bold through there. So, okay, we'll add a note to help make that clear.
And also, so they're not in the hillside overlay, but we will require a grading plan, correct? Similar to what we just went through up on the east bench.
So a grading plan is only anything that's in a hillside overlay. It's the only thing that would actually require, per our code that I'm aware of, that requires an individual lot grading plan. So.
If you check the original plats, you may have required some of these lots because of the slope of the lots to get a grading plan approved as part of the building permit.
Yep. Yeah, there's that note on those.
Continuity of design and grading across properties.
Retention of water on the lots, that type of thing.
Yeah, so we'll look at that, Randy, to see if this lot in specific has that note that Dennis referenced. Okay, and yeah, so there's some cleanup that they have to do, add some notes to the plans regarding agricultural notes that have recently been ordinance amendments. So that's what those notes are at there. So those are pretty well all the main comments we've got there. So anything else? Okay, if not, I'd look for a motion.
I made them all today. Anybody else want to take a turn? I'll
You're
make a
on a-
motion
you're on
that
a
we
roll.
forward a positive recommendation to the Planning Commission regarding Cedar Point at Summit Ridge Plat F, with the conditions that the red lines be addressed and that we add a plat note that no access or even temporary access for construction or landscaping purposes from Summit Ridge be added to the plat. And then finally that we verify that there's not any specific grading plans that are needed per previous plat notes.
And if they are, that they would be
Still in effect.
That they
That
be
would be
added,
incorporated
on
during
this
the building permit process.
well, that they be added to this new plat.
Yep. Okay, motion or second
Second.
by Randy. Any discussion? Not? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, then last item on the agenda was the traffic control request. Let me just make sure. Okay, yep, it's a traffic control request up on 200 East and around Apple Valley Elementary School. So let me pull up a map here. This was tabled last DRC, so that we could get additional information and in regards to the amount of pedestrian traffic that would go across that could potentially come from the east side of 200 East, and as students are walking up to Apple Valley Elementary School. And so part of that is we're looking through it, some of the information that we got from the school district is they indicated that there are 77 students that live east along 200 East and east of 200 East. So from I-15, from the west side of I-15 and north side of Main Street, in this area, there's 77 students that could walk to the elementary school. You know, kind of looking at it, most of the time, most students, most people only walk when they're within roughly about a mile of a destination. And that gets you to roughly about 400 north if you do a radius around the elementary school for that. So with that said, though, there is also Apple Valley Elementary School, the safe walking routes to the school that have been delineated do include 200 East. As they go through, also 400 North is the east-west kind of connection that goes to get students to 200 East as they start to move up towards Apple Valley Elementary School. With those numbers and what was discussed previously, 610 North, the northbound legs, north and southbound portion of that intersection is not controlled by stop signs. It's the east-west there's existing stop signs there, and based on previous studies and previous reviews of 200 West, that intersection does not warrant a four-way stop sign at this point in time. And then, so taking all that in consideration and looking at trying, as to say, you know, pedestrian safety is an important consideration on anything. We're looking at trying to improve some sort of east-west crosswalk connection, and from an engineering point of view, it appears that 400 North would be the most appropriate location for a crosswalk like that, due to the fact that you've got a safe route to school portion along 400 North, and at 200 East, that crosswalk would allow for connection to the west side of 200 East to allow students or pedestrians to get onto that side of the road and work their way north towards Apple Valley Elementary School. The other point to note is that is also already a stop sign located in that location.
Four-way stop.
A four-way stop there. So it helps move direct pedestrians and students over to that side of the road, and to help them move up, start moving towards the north. As part of that, you can also look at if it is a safe route to potentially put a north and southbound crosswalk at 610 and over to over here on 150 East to help get students directed towards this intersection, which we've already done we installed a four-way stop sign, additional crosswalks to get students to work towards 770 and crossing towards the front of the elementary school.
So the idea of bringing the pedestrians across 610 North, along 200 East, and then turn westbound until they can come to 100 East, where they can cross with the assistance of the school district.
Correct. Yep. So that is one recommendation, that looking at it from an engineering perspective, and taking into consideration the safe routes to school that is associated with Apple Valley to help direct students towards that towards the school to get there safely and appropriately. We recognize that there's a lot of part of the core area of town that doesn't have fully improved street right-of-ways. So lacking curb and gutter, storm drainage facilities, pedestrian, sidewalks and that type of stuff through there. We have done some conceptual work to kind of say, hey, how are we going to do that? But at this point, we haven't put a lot of effort into finalizing those designs and rolling towards the fact of, do we put those roadway improvements in? We've done one small project that we're in the process of designing on Center Street, adjacent to Main Street down through here. We're able to get some community development block grants or CDBG funds to help with that. But that's really the only part of the core area of town that we've done any extensive work to try to get a design put together and how we're going to do this. And so
some of the concerns that I've had, and I think we've talked about amongst us as staff, and we've talked with the elected leaders, is that we've completed our storm drainage master plan that has two different cross sections, one with curb gutter and sidewalk, and that can then catch stormwater, and another with swells. And there's areas of town that make sense to do swales because we have a lot of right-of-way, and there's areas of town where it just doesn't make sense to do swales, such as 3rd West, where we put in curb right up to the asphalt because there's just not enough right-of-way. And with that, we also recognize that there's a political aspect to this entire thing, in that a significant portion of our community that needs to have the storm drainage collection is probably the least capable of paying for it. And how do we fund that particular project throughout our community, and in what order? And so Jason has talked to me about wanting to get before the the city council and have a work meeting with them, and we plan to do so in October to really talk about what cross sections make most sense, because for example, the swells give a greater agrarian look, but then require more maintenance of our public works crew, and of course, curb gutter and sidewalk creates a lot more cost for the city, and how do we go about funding that? It seems like the number of blocks that we're looking to improve is like 58 blocks or something like that. Which is very expensive, but it's never going to be improved if we don't prioritize and establish which blocks in what priority order make the most sense as far as overall holistic improvements. Logically speaking, it really does make sense either to come off Main Street and work out, or to come off our schools and work together, and then to fill in those other areas as they come along. But we'll give that to our policy leaders to discuss how they want to move forward and start planning for that. With all of that said, we do have the immediate issues of concern that are brought up by our residents over and over again about the walking and walkability of those areas. And one of our concerns is we don't want to create a false sense of safety, where children might see the bars of a crosswalk, but it's not a controlled intersection, step out thinking that they're safe. Cars aren't normally stopping in that area, and then the kids are not looking because they think it's a crosswalk, and technically it is, and it sets up a situation where the kids are actually at greater risk. And so I appreciate, John, you putting this together, because it does create a logical path that follows along controlled intersections. And I think it's a very good step in the right direction. I think another step in the right direction is for our city council to look at the plans that I just talked about, the storm drainage master plan, and how we would prioritize those going forward. And we'll look to our community development crew and planners and engineers to help us as far as planning for that, so that when we prioritize it, and it comes back to me, everybody will look at me and go, well, how do we pay for it? We can at least say, okay, we're going to be taking a block or 2 blocks at a time, and we can start setting money aside each budget year. And then in addition to that, we do recognize that we have partnerships in the school district. We have partnerships in the PTA, and we have partnerships with the parents of these children. And while we can build all of the infrastructure in the world, we can't make the kids actually walk on it. And there has been video that has been showed in our city councils in the past, meetings in the past, where school lets out and we have an area with curb, gutter, and sidewalk and controlled intersections, and kids are blowing through the stop signs and on their bikes and driving full force, and kids are running down the road, and no attention to that whatsoever. And so it takes a village, right? It takes a community to come together, and so we're going to look towards our school district, our PTA, and our parents to help train the kids to, as we invest in these new features, new infrastructure improvements, that we train our kids to use them. And where they don't exist, that we train the kids to not walk on the asphalt, walk on the shoulders where possible. So with all that said, I think this is a step in the right direction, your recommendation, and so I'll make a motion that we move forward and approve a crosswalk east-west at 4th on the north side of the intersection of 4th North and 2nd East, that we approve a north-south crosswalk on the intersection of 610 North on the west side of 2nd East, and encourage and a crosswalk at 1 east-west at 150 east on the south side
Yep.
of 730 North, encouraging the school children of that area to make their way to First East so that they can cross with the assistance of the teachers and principal of Appleville Elementary.
Okay, thank you. We've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Randy. Thank you. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, and then the last item on the agenda is the meeting minutes from August 24th. For a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Ben. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned at 11:15 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.